Hello, Grizzly here again, and for something a little bit different. Today, I'm going to be doing my quick review on the OEX Ultralight Flux 7R. So for a bit of transparency, I have not bought this mat. It was lent to me from a friend. They asked if I'd seen it. I said I'd seen it advertised online. I'd seen some reviews that I wasn't overly sure about. So they asked if I'd like to borrow it the next time I'm out on a wild camp, rather than spending my money. Now, for a little bit of a backstory, I've been wanting a mat with an R value for many years. I've put a little bit of lazy research into what sort of mat I want, and a bit of a tight arse, to be fair. So I don't want to spend a lot of money, like £150 on a mat. I just can't justify spending that much. I think that's astonishing. But I'm also a bit worried about spending something that's quite cheap and it ended up being either rubbish or, in the back of my mind, for a little bit more I could have got a lot better. So when I eventually bit the bullet, I ended up buying the OEX Flux 5.0. Now, even though it says 5.0, it has an R value of 3. To be fair, this is not the mat that I wanted to buy. It was cheaper than the mat I wanted to buy, and the mat I wanted to buy was out of stock. So as I needed it as soon as, bought this mat instead, and to be fair, I've been really impressed with it. So going back onto the Flux 7, but it's 7R, it actually has a thermal R rating of 7.2. I've heard online that it was a little bit thicker than the Flux 5, which is not very good for side sleepers, which I'm a side sleeper, so that put me off. So I've never had a problem with the Flux 5. I never felt my hips digging into the ground through it. But with people mentioning it, it got me a little bit on edge about it. And then the second comment that I read and I really didn't like was that it was very noisy. It's a very noisy pad. Now, I know that when I'm asleep, I sleep like the dead, but a noisy pad was something else that put me off. So I'm going to inflate these two mats up now and we can do a side-by-side comparison. But firstly, I might as well show you that both bags, their stuff sacks, is also an inflation bag. Now with the Flux 5, you take out the mat. I think I added the band to it. Put your hand inside, pull out the innards, and that's your inflation sack. You've got a bit at the bottom that you strap down to your pad. Little breath in there, push it all in, and it inflates your mat. And it works really, really well. Now, when I picked this pad up from my friend, the one thing that they was telling me is that it's a little bit different to the 5. For a start, you've got drawstring either side, so which side you open? So let's try this side. Oh, nope, that's just more of the bag. So there's the mat. And again, you've got a slightly longer bag with thing on the end that goes into your pad, no cap on this. And this is what you inflate your mat with, same as the 5. Now, they've got a 5 as well, and they said they could see no problems with the design of the bag. They're wondering why half of it has to go into its own little drawstring and sit at the bottom. When I was last out for a wild camp, I was with a friend of mine. We went for a bivvy camp and he got a Sea to Summit mat. I couldn't tell you what type it is, but his bag was exactly the same. So I'm guessing that OEX has took the idea from Sea to Summit to put the bag extension in a little compartment at the bottom rather than sticking with what they did previously, which to be fair, I just found it works. As you can see now, the Flux 5 is on top of the Flux 7, and it's slightly wider, and I think, oh no, put that there, I think the Flux 5 is slightly larger by about an inch. And there you can see the different thicknesses. I'd say the Flux 7 is verging on twice as thick, possibly, than the 5. So the 5, I would say, is roughly just over an inch, and yeah, the 7 is about 2.5 inch. You can see the way the Flux 7 is set up differently to the Flux 5. And the Flux 5 is relatively quiet, as when I heard the Flux 7 in the shop, can you hear that? So there you've seen them on top of each other, kind of side by side. So actually trying to be a bit more scientific, I took a measurement of the thickness. As you can see, I placed something flat down on the top of it, and the Flux 5 comes in at 46 beer mats thick, or 56 millimeters. And the Flux 7R comes in at a whopping 67 beer mats thick. Or you might want to know it as 82 millimeters. So for my second worry of the mat was the noise. When I'd seen it inflated in Go Outdoors, I'd moved it around and it was sounding quite noisy. But when I went out for my wild camp, as I said, my friend had a Sea to Summit mat. I'm not going to diss Sea to Summit, I've never owned one, so they could be absolutely brilliant. My mate seems to like it. But when we said night and then got ready for bed, he was there wriggling around on his, and it sounded like he was sleeping on a load of crisp packets. So as he was doing that, I just give myself a little shuffle and I couldn't really hear anything. So yeah, that concern had been put to bed. So lastly, looking at the stats, the Flux 5 measures at 1810 millimeters long and 570 millimeters wide, which seems to be quite average, and the weight is 540 grams. So from what you've seen me laying them down on top of each other, there seems to be a bit of discrepancy. They advertise it as 1,830 mils long, which is 2 centimeters or 20 mils longer than the Flux 5, which it didn't seem to be that. But then it's 635 millimeters wide, which, yeah, to be fair, it did look wider, but maybe not to that much. And this one weighs in at 813 grams. But the Flux 7 also says that it has the height of 75 millimeters, which, well, they obviously didn't do it scientifically with the bear mats, but I've got it as a little bit thicker. So what else can I say? So, as you can see, they're the difference in pack sizes. That one's kind of looking bigger, but I suppose once you've squished that part down, there's actually not that much difference in size, probably about a centimetre or two. The thicknesses are, yeah, quite similar. Obviously, the Flux 7, advertised as ultralight, so a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, but then again it's warmer than this. And lastly, the Flux 7R seems to, every time that it's in the shops or online, it go outdoors especially, it's getting sold out pretty quickly. So from an R value of 3 for the Flux 5 to a 7.2 for the 7R, so a 4.2 increase in R value, and the prices is actually quite astonishing. So I'm looking currently at the moment at Ultimate Outdoors online, which is just the same as Blacks, Millets, Go Outdoors, etc. And the Flux 7R is currently £65. I'm not sure if that's like with a discount card like Go Outdoors. But then the Flux 5 is £54. So for an extra 4.2 R value, you spend an extra £11. And to me, that's a bit of a no-brainer. So lastly, my review. Cons on it, which not really anything. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, a little bit heavier. This system thing I don't like. Not like it's really going to be a problem. But then when I'm out using the inflatable maps, I take the tiny pump anyway, so the bags are good in a pinch, but I don't really use them. So I don't know why they couldn't stick to what they did with the Flux 5. That seemed to work. Why they're copying Sea to Summit, I don't know. It crinkles a little bit, makes a little bit of noise. That's about it. And my friend who lent it me, if you are watching, as I've already said to you, I think it's a piece of crap. I think you've wasted your money, and I'm going to do you a favour and keep it rather than returning it and you throwing it in the bin. Now they've gone. I say it's a tough one. It's, I think, one of the cheapest mats with an R value of 7 that's out on the market. Seems to be really comfortable. Again, and now I've got that dilemma. I don't need a mat, but for a lot warmer mat and paying, what did I say, £65 compared to some of the top brands, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. So yeah, it's a thumbs up from me. Lastly, if you found any worth in this video, please give it a like, drop a comment down below if you've got it, and tell me your thoughts on it. And if you're happy that I've done a review and you want more to come, then let me know, and it's something I'll think about. I'll not go out my way to buy gear just to review it, but I will review any new gear that I buy and tell you my thoughts on it. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It'd be very much appreciated. Thanks for watching this far. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. I hope 2025 brings you everything that you want and is full of adventures. And until next time, Pod Marie, hooroo.